We live in a time when being yourself has become almost an act of rebellion. The world constantly pushes us to move faster, to achieve more, to become someone, as if simply being were no longer enough. We are surrounded by stories of success, by voices promising that if we just master the right habits, build the right brand, follow the right formula, life will finally make sense. Yet the more we chase this image of who we think we should be, the further we drift from who we truly are. We begin to assemble ourselves out of fragments of other people's expectations, out of borrowed goals and borrowed dreams. Until one day we wake up and realize that everything looks right, but feels wrong. We're so afraid of being not enough that we turn life into a constant performance, a project where we're both the creator and the product. We measure, compare, edit, adjust, trying to fit into an invisible mold. We've been taught to evaluate every moment by its usefulness, how much we achieved, how productive we were, how we appear in the eyes of others. And somewhere in that process, we stop breathing freely. Life becomes a task list instead of a living flow, a race with no finish line, where even success feels empty because the next target is already waiting ahead. To be yourself means to allow imperfection. It sounds simple, yet it demands immense courage. Because being yourself often means not meeting expectations. It means being quiet when the world expects noise. It means moving slowly when everyone else is running. It means doubting when others are certain, and believing when others are cynical. To be yourself is to live without guarantees, without knowing if you'll be accepted, understood, or loved for who you are. But maybe that's what true freedom is, the moment you stop depending on approval and start existing from your own truth. The modern world runs on speed. Everyone is chasing something: goals, numbers, attention, validation. But life isn't a race. It's not a ladder to climb. It's more like a garden, where everything grows in its own rhythm. One flower blooms early, another waits for the sun a little longer. No one blames the rose for blooming later than the lily. Only humans turn growth into competition. When you stop rushing to become someone, you begin to notice that the world never demanded perfection from you in the first place. All those inner voices whispering you must do more, you must be better, you must prove yourself, they don't belong to life, they belong to fear. Fear of being unseen. Fear of being unworthy. Fear that without your masks, there will be nothing left. But the truth is, you become someone only when you stop pretending to be anyone else. You don't need to find yourself. You were never lost. You just need to allow yourself to exist, unfiltered, unpolished, unedited. We don't lose authenticity because we forget who we are, we lose it because we're afraid to show it. Afraid that if we do, we won't be loved. So we wear the smiles we don't feel, agree when we want to refuse, and pretend to care about things that leave us cold. And yet, despite all that effort, the quiet fatigue never leaves. Then comes a moment of silence, the kind that feels like truth. You realize you don't need to prove anything anymore. You don't have to be interesting, inspiring, or impressive. You can simply be alive. And there, in that simplicity, something powerful begins to happen. You rediscover peace, not the kind that comes from everything being perfect, but the kind that comes from no longer needing it to be. Being yourself isn't always comfortable. It can mean walking alone, moving against the current, or saying no when it would be easier to nod. It can mean losing things, opportunities, approval, people, but gaining something much greater, inner peace. And peace is a kind of wealth no one can give or take away. It's what remains when the masks fall. To learn to be yourself, you must reclaim your right to silence. The world is loud, and that noise drowns your inner voice. We listen to experts, to algorithms, to endless advice, but rarely to ourselves. Yet everything essential speaks quietly. To hear who you are, you must slow down enough to listen. Sit in the stillness, even when it's uncomfortable. Resist the urge to fix, explain, or perform. Allow yourself to simply exist, without answers, without labels. Paradoxically, when you stop trying to become someone, you begin to grow naturally. Without effort, without pressure. Everything that's meant for you finds its way. Everything that isn't fades quietly, leaving space for what's real. This isn't loss, it's liberation. Because being yourself means no longer clinging to versions of you that no longer feel alive. For too long, we believe that life is a stage and we owe the world a show. But maybe no one is waiting for the performance. Maybe the only thing life asks of you is to be real, to be here, fully, in your own skin, in your own truth. Even if that truth is uncertainty. Even if it's silence. Even if it doesn't look like inspiration. What matters is that it's yours. And that's where strength begins. Not from pretending, but from presence. When you stop rushing to become someone, breathing returns. You start to taste the quiet moments. You stop devouring life like it's running out. You live it. Slowly, consciously, deeply. You begin to see that life isn't waiting for you somewhere in the future, after you've become more confident or successful. Life is here. In your voice, your steps, your breath. The world doesn't need another perfect person. It needs more real ones. People who aren't afraid to be simple. People who can laugh at their mistakes. People who can feel deeply without shame. Simplicity is not weakness. It's maturity. It's knowing that you don't have to prove your worth. You already have it. Being yourself isn't a risk. It's coming home. Life doesn't begin when you become someone. It begins the moment you stop pretending to be anyone else.